They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stars in the House. I'm
Hello.
James Wesley.
Why are you so far over to the side?
I know. That's what I was wondering, too.
It's like opposite on the screen. It's hard to see. Hey, everyone. I'm Seth. It is June 1st. We have a great show lined up for you, which we'll tell you about soon. But
Yes.
if you happen to be just joining us for the first time after all these months, A, where the hell have you been?
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, seriously. B.
Yeah, because guess what, Seth? There's something on the screen, and I'm not talking about you or me, that's being recycled because this is our second June that we've been doing Stars in the House. You notice anything on the screen here?
It's being recycled.
That right there.
Wait. Oh, my God. That's so
Pride
cool.
Month. Right.
David made that for us. Our Pride
Last
Month.
year, and it's just been sitting there. I'm like, oh, I think we'll use that for the month
Oh,
of
we never got
June.
rid of it. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, because it's June, which is Pride Month. We got some shows coming up, which we're going to tell you about. But first, if you don't know what
Yes.
Stars in the House is, yes, it's our fundraiser for the Actors Fund, which is for everybody in the arts. Actors, singers, dancers, anybody backstage, stage managers, wig people, makeup people, musicians, orchestrators, copyists, ushers, anybody that works in theater and or just any aspects of the arts, TV, film, whatever you do across the country, you can get help from the Actors Fund. And we're just talking to one of our friends over the weekend who lost his health insurance.
Yeah.
He works on Broadway all the time.
All the time.
Because they not only help you with money, they also just help you with living life. They have I don't know if it's happened already, but maybe it's just about to happen. One of those financial lectures, how to deal with finance.
Oh.
I just saw that posted, but they also have navigating health insurance.
You can go to actorsfund.org/workshops.
Yeah, and you can see everything there.
Right.
And if you need any help, go to actorsfund.org. Or if you know someone that needs help, because a lot of times, I just saw someone post about someone that was going through cancer as a performer, and I say, have the person contact the Actors Fund.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people just don't know that it's for everybody in the arts. If you can help, what should they do, Jimmy?
They should go to starsinthehouse.com or to donate or text Fund 2020 to 56512.
Correct.
And here's the thing. So today normally we would say forward your receipt to donations to Stars in the House. Look, you can still do that. But tomorrow.
We can read them tomorrow.
We can read them tomorrow.
At the beginning of the show.
You read my mind. Oh. Exactly. So I told, because here's the thing. This week is made possible by the generosity of Jason Crespin.
Yes.
Crespin,
is it?
Yes, I asked him my whole thing. See, look, he's nodding.
Jason, then put an accent over that I.
Well, he will.
Or put an E at the end of it.
You know what?
Thank you.
Because of Jason, who worked with Anika Larson and Julie on Plays in the House Teen Edition, he is an expert at StreamYard, and I know he does it with his own theater in Texas, my home state. But David, as you know, if you're a longtime viewer of the show, or even short-time viewer of the show, David Katz works his butt off, and so he is double back for a while now. Yeah. He is in California.
He said take a damn vacation.
Yes, so he is there with friends, and earlier when Seth was trying to get a hold of him, he was nowhere to be found.
MIA.
So I'm hoping he's on a beach and having a really good time right now. So anyway, so Jason is here, and by the way, what a week we have. I mean, today it's June 1st, and it was sort of like we could get a guest host, but we have the perfect not one but two shows that we did last year.
This is when we used to do 2 shows a day,
right.
So there was a lot of information for June 1st. So we had Leslie Uggams on for June 1st, which is Leslie Uggams Day. You'll find out about in a minute, and she got it for like 1961. We're like, you have so much more of your career. You've got to come back.
Yeah, and it was the first of our every day in the month of June. We were not raising money for the Actors Fund. We were raising money for NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and I think it was actually was Leslie on that afternoon show, Seth, and then Shelley Williams came on that evening. I can't remember the order, and then Leslie came on the next night, right?
Yeah,
or the next day. I can't remember. She did 2 shows, and it was June 1st, June 2nd. So we asked our friend Paul Ewan if he would do an edited version, and so he did that, and and Jason uploaded it and got it ready for us, and so that's what we're going to play in a little bit.
And just so you know why it's Leslie Uggams Day.
Yes.
There's just this very famous video, which I always think everybody knows, but maybe they really don't. Basically, it's Leslie Uggams live singing Judas Blessing on All Over, and after the initial basically lyric, Judas Blessing on All Over, she begins to make up the lyrics, and at first it vaguely makes sense, and then it's nonsense syllables, and then it's just ha 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 ha. I mean, it's literally real lyrics, but that only makes sense, nonsense syllables, and then just literally vowels. And everyone's watched it for years, and I was like, "Oh my God, she forgot the lyrics." And it turns out there's an amazing story behind it,
but she'll share,
which she's going to tell you when you watch. So first, you'll see the video tonight, and then you'll finally get the real story, and she's so funny when she tells it. But besides that story, her amazing career, she began
pioneer.
You'll hear she began as a kid performing at the Apollo. She was on Name That Tune when she was like 11 years old. Then she was on Sing Along with Mitch, and you hear about Mitch. Basically, when she got on that show, the Southern states did not want to air it because she was a black woman. She was a black girl, but they said, we're not going to air it. And you'll hear about Mitch stood up for her and kind of demanded it. I mean, really fascinating, groundbreaking civil rights stories, and just sounds the same, looks the same. We talk about Roots, that brilliance, which you can still see. How did we see Roots recently? It was
we saw it on, I think, Amazon or something.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So,
by the way, and little did we know, Seth, at that point that she would be doing, did she do George? Remind me, did she do George on My Mind?
Georgia!
Of course she did that.
I
don't know if she did did she do the inauguration video? I don't remember, but George on My Mind.
No, she did the inauguration video. Remember, because the last second she wasn't able to do it, and I said, literally, just sing this. Yes. She was amazing.
So little did we know at that point in June that she would be doing two of our big music videos that we'd be doing later on that year. And I guess this year.
She still sounds amazing. She literally belts a D in that Georgia video. So anyway, it's great story. It's about basically civil rights and also just being a pioneer on Broadway and on television, and just the career never ends.
Yes. So that's today, and then tomorrow. I was going on YouTube on my phone.
Dancing Goes Five Eva.
Yes, and I was just like looking up Girls Five Eva, and I have to say, Stars in the House, I think may have be outshining Drew Barrymore, and I appreciate Drew Barrymore because she came on and she recorded something beautiful for our Free to Be You and Me, because she had the four stars. She had Busy and Paula and Renee and Sarah Bareilles. But she did not have Tina Fey and Jeff Richmond and Meredith Scardino, who created it. So, just saying.
What did Drew Barrymore have? She has a talk show? On TV?
Yes. And, yeah. I mean, she makes money and we don't, but we at least have Tina Fey and Jeff Richmond and Meredith Scardino. So that's pretty cool.
I still don't watch TV.
I know. Anyway, I just looking at it, I'm like, well, that's very interesting. They got the four women, but they didn't get the others.
Yeah, so that's going to be tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
5 Eva.
That's right.
I don't even know what Thursday is. What is it?
Thursday is youth. Actually, you know what, Jason? You come on, because Jason had a long meeting. I'm going to bring on Jason. Jason actually will be able to describe it much better. It's a here. I'm going to bring on Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello. It's nice to finally talk to you guys live on Stars in the House. My students will freak out, but don't believe me that I'm actually helping out. So I appreciate it so much.
So not true. He's already picked out because how many times have you seen Girls Five Eva has 8 episodes? How many have you seen already? I mean, how many times have you seen
I've seen it 4 times now because I saw it 3, and since now I've seen it a 4th time to look at clips and info. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. It's so good.
So Jason I'm a little bit worried that tomorrow during the tech times that we'll actually
the stalking will be appropriate.
The stalking will begin. A little bit nervous, but
not at all. Constant professional.
All right, we believe you.
But I know that you already picked some great clips, so that'll be fantastic.
But what's tomorrow's show?
What's Thursday's show? Because I know you have
Thursday's show is the Pride Youth Choir. It's going to be a great event with the students of that, where we're going to have students actually talking about what they've been doing, some performances. It's going to be fantastic, especially now with Pride Month.
Jason, is this the Pride Youth Choir in New York?
Yeah,
correct.
Oh yeah, I love that. Okay, good. I was wondering why Jason went out. I thought it was Texan.
No, because Jason.
I did the meeting this morning. Yep.
It's going to be a packed show because
packed show, performances, some clips. I mean, these kids are absolutely fantastic, and what a great month not only to celebrate them all year, but to celebrate them during Pride Month. It's going to be absolutely fantastic.
That's so exciting. That's Thursday. What the hell is Friday?
Friday is.
Can you guys announce it?
Wait, is that a secret?
No, Friday.
No, that's Saturday.
No, you're talking about Saturday, Jason.
What's Friday? Then?
Friday is one of my favorite shows. From the 80s.
Oh my God! Of course.
Kate and Allie.
Kate and Allie with the whole cast with
Susan St. James and Jane Curtin and Allison Smith, who did Will and Grace with,
who was in Annie, but she then starred in Kate and Allie.
And then the two other kids who are basically our age now, and Bill Persky, who directed 100 of the episodes, which I can't wait actually to talk to them, because here's the thing. This is stuff we can talk about now because we don't have other guests. We have Leslie waiting on tape from that's edited. But here's what I'm fascinated with that Seth couldn't care less about, is that I think it was probably the first show that was filmed, like sitcom that was filmed in New York after many, many years. And they were like in the Ed Sullivan Theater they filmed, and then they filmed Seth on the Upper West Side. That is basically across, not where the Beacon Theater is, but like a couple, near the Barnes and Noble, but across the street. And now it's the Staples. It's the Staples, sadly. But it used to be this old theater and I'm sure they have backstage stories of rats and all sorts of like stuff. But that's where they filmed Kate and Allie. And there's a story behind it I already know, but we'll ask Bill.
Wait, we couldn't have talked more about Tomorrow's Goes by Beba, and then Julie's like, I think tomorrow. You couldn't have literally.
We brought Jason on. Part of the reason was because he's seen the show he's seen the 8 episodes 4 times. But
I now feel like I need to watch it one more time so I can say I've seen it 5 times for Girls 5.
Oh,
see if I can squeeze one in, but we'll see.
So tomorrow is Girls 5 Eva. Thursday is the youth choir with live performances for Pride Month. Friday is Kate and Allie. Saturday, however, there is a change. We are postponing Dreamgirls. Let the devastation set in for just 1 second.
Just a second.
Dreamgirls is 100% going to happen, but all of our stars are working, and there was a filming snafu where basically one person has to film
on Saturday, and she wasn't expecting to.
So it's like, I know, but don't worry, because I think you'll be very happy with the replacement. I'm going to tell you who's doing the replacement.
And this hasn't even been announced yet. So this is for our viewers that are watching right now. Seth will announce, and Jason and I talked about it earlier, and Jason was flipping out.
Tell me if you can get.
I'll get my book. Whenever you announce it, I'll grab my book.
Okay, so tell me, in the comments, Dreamgirls was supposed to be Saturday, Jay. We just are literally announcing it right now, because we wanted to wait till the press release goes out. But this is who's doing Saturday's show. See if you can guess. Tyrese, Dan, Adam, Sherry. Can you guess?
There's like a 20-second delay, Seth. So you gotta...
so just wait. So Tyrese.
And yes, Seattle Suzuki. I know the website still says Dreamgirls.
We didn't want to announce it.
We didn't want to announce it. I think it'll be changed tomorrow to what?
Can you guess? Tyrese, Dan, Adam, Sherry, and Heather. Can you guess what show is on Saturday? I'm waiting for you to guess. I'm going to say the names again. Tyrese, Dan, Adam, Sherry, Renee,
boom,
and
Jesse.
Heather.
Yes.
We are having your low keyness and making it all lowercase letters.
It should be all capital.
Nothing exciting.
Points.
We were getting the original cast of Aida, and of course Shelley Williams, who's original in the Hepka, who's directing the revival of Aida.
That's right.
We're having the stars of Aida here. Yes, they'll be live singing. Aida, original cast. That's amazing, Jason. You have that.
I know, right?
It's on my shelf. When I first went to New York, this was one of my first shows I've ever seen in New York when I was 19. This changed my life. Funny story about this. We were hoping to get, we were at TKTS. We gave our money to a parent. We had to go to a workshop. We were hoping for Cabaret. Cabaret was running at that time.
Right.
And the parent said, I'm so sorry, I couldn't get you that show, but we got you the first show alphabetically on the board. And it was Aida. And thank God, me and my friend Jenny fell in love with this show. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh my!
I love that it's such a random that you saw it
on my shelf. Yep.
Oh my gosh!
So we got our original stars of Aida, and Dreamgirls is going to be probably maybe in a week, maybe 2 weeks. It depends. But
it'll happen.
Yeah, we have everyone doing Dreamgirls, so that's going to be actually very easy for me.
Well, it's going to be the first time. I mean, It'll be the first time Heather's been on our show,
Yeah.
and the first time Sherry Renee Scott has been on the show.
And I think the first time the three of them have been together in forever. Heather, Adam, and
Maybe
Sherry.
since the show.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So
That's what I was thinking.
we're very excited that we have Aida coming up, and we're gonna have Dream Girls, like I said, either in a week or maybe 2 weeks.
All right. Well, Jason. So we have now you know that we have to watch Jason with Aida also.
I'm good. I'm promised.
Here's how much, because David really would have loved all these. This is how much David needed a vacation. Is that David was just like, you know what? I'm not changing my plans, and Jason, have fun.
Yeah, he needed a break whenever he handed that off. Yep.
Exactly. All right. So thank you, Jason, for everything you're going to do this week for us. And so Seth, there were two other things, and then we're going to hand it over to Jason. Number one, we were, the last time we had Stars in the House, we were in Audra McDonald's house.
Right. That was an amazing show. If no one saw it, if you missed it,
if you missed
incredible.
it, you got to see it. And I haven't written to Cherry or Soleil, and I'm going to do that tonight.
It was a reunion of Punky Brewster.
Yes.
Supporting, you got to believe, this organization that helps older foster youth find families. It was an amazing show.
It was an amazing show, and little did we know, because neither Soleil nor Cherry have been on the show before, but they were amazing. We love them and would love to have them back. But the amount of money raised for that night as of this afternoon is $57,969 raised for You Gotta Believe.
Oh my God. Thank you everyone for
incredible.
donating.
Yes, so thank you so much. So that's one thing. The other thing is, on Saturday, we didn't say, because we were in Audra's house, and we were basically eating dinner up until showtime.
Yeah, we weren't planning on being there.
We was just sort of like, Will was like, I'll order Indian, and we were like, okay, and so we did that, which was nice because we haven't been in their house in over a year, so it was nice to have dinner.
We should be vaccinated next time we go.
Yeah, Seth made that horrible joke a couple of times, but we also wanted to say that was the day that Gavin MacLeod died, and
Right,
it was so sad, and we were so grateful that we had him on the show only a few months ago for the Love Boat, and that was a really joyous. Not that most of our shows I think are really joyous, but that one really was, and I think it's. Especially Charo and everyone lighting, because Charo was a surprise guest, right? I think she was.
She surprised me.
Yes, and seeing everyone's reaction, including Gavin. So we wanted to express our condolences. I know that Jill, who played his daughter on the show, had tweeted and so I just wanted to acknowledge Gavin's passing. And the last thing I'm going to say is, this month of June is really going to be busy for a lot of reasons, not just in Stars in the House, but legislatively. And we haven't really said anything. There's a vote-a-thon right behind us since the election. It's only 2 more minutes, Seth. I know Seth was like, let's be done at 8:10.
No, I'm reading that. You know what? I look crazy because I'm reading all
You looked a little bit like...
No, because I'm reading all these comments. It's just interesting reading everything. Sorry.
Okay.
That's where my head is.
That's okay. But is Arts Action Fund, and it's right here, because they are on their gig. And Arts Action Fund, if you recall, they are part of Americans for the Arts, an organization that we love based out of DC. If you go to artsactionfund.org/action center, I'm going to just leave that up, because 2 of the things that they're working on are amazing. And, yes, the election happened, and the results are what they are, because we have to stay nonpartisan, but it doesn't mean that we're done with the work that we need to do.
No.
And so I just wanted, because I got this email, and so one of them is the Biden administration just a couple of days ago released its fiscal year 2022 budget, which included a $201 million recommended budget for the National Endowment for the Arts. This would be, if it passes, the largest increase in the agency's history.
Amazing.
By the way, not that much compared to many European countries when you look at the percentage of what's spent on the arts. But we'll take what we can. That's like a great start.
Bigger than a lot of European countries.
That's my point. But this is basically they're planning on this part of the budget process expected to be done by the end of June, and it's really important to tell your members of Congress to support the $201 budget recommendation in the Interior Appropriations Bill. And that's what funds the NEA. And again, you go to artsactionfund.org/action center, and you'll get more information about it. The last thing,
and just like post it on your social media.
The last thing, Seth, and I didn't know about this until I literally just read it, which you may love even more, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which lists the arts and music.
Is that on the website?
It is on the Action Center. Okay. Absolutely, it is. In the federal definition of what's considered a well-rounded education. In other words, giving the arts the respect that it deserves.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah, so the Senate report language described the arts as, quote, dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts, and other arts disciplines. And basically, it's to increase the funding and the scope and emphasize the importance of the arts in education.
But this is what it reminds me of, just on a side note. This reminds me of after 9/11, all the airlines were like, oh, we've lost so much money since 9/11. We just have to, make it up right now and start charging you for an extra bag. And we're like, oh, we understand. And then it just became the norm. An extra bag is charged for. And it's like, hey, with this credit card, we won't charge you for the extra bag. We'll do you a favor. And it's like, when I was growing up, every single public school had the arts.
Right.
And now it's like, we're going to get extra funding so we can add some arts because everything has been cut. It shouldn't be a big deal to add the arts. It was just normal. Yeah. It shouldn't be like, hey, we're going to add them. Isn't that special? No, it's not. Like that is part of a well-rounded education.
Yeah. All right. So arts, well, you can do something about it. And in the month of June, especially, artsactionfund.org/action center. Please go there after the show. And with that in mind, Jason, I say you hit it. Oh, before Jason hits it, you know what? Because it has that the beginning is our old song before Liz Calloway joined us.
Oh, What the World Needs Now, featuring Girls 5 Ever star
exactly.
Renee Lee Goldsberry. What the world?
Exactly. Followed by Alice Ripley. We can't forget Alice, but it does. But it does feature Renee. And so Jason was like, "Oh, do you want me to cut it?" I'm like, you know what? No, it's actually kind of perfect.
Foreshadowing for tomorrow.
Exactly. Who knew? All right, Jason, hit it. Yeah. So
I was going to say, just so people know, this is for tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow. Cannot wait.
Okay, here we go. Leslie Uggams, you guys are going to love this show. Jason, hit it.
We are so happy to introduce Leslie Uggams.
Yay!
Hi, Leslie. Hello.
Okay, first of all, how do you have a youth filter on your camera? What's happening? Flashback to the 40s. You look stunning. What's going on?
Thank you. Listen, I've been blessed with the right genes. That's all I can tell you. That's my secret only,
Did your mom always look 35 years old?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
she was amazing. Both my parents also had amazing skin. So that's a blessing that I got from them. And thank you very much.
Leslie, did you also get your talent from your parents?
Well, something is interesting is that both my grandfathers, who I never met, they had passed away before I was born, because I was one of those surprise pregnancies.
Yes.
So my mother back then was I think she was like 30 or something before she had me. And so they had both passed away, but they both sang. They were both ministers. Oh. And my Aunt Eloise, my father's sister, was on Broadway. She was in Porgy and Bess.
Wow.
She was in St. Louis Woman.
Oh my God, the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, so she was in theater, and she wound up touring all over the world with Porgy and Bess. And she had an operatic voice, and so therefore there was always music in the house. And I always sang. My mother said I started singing when I was 3.
I believe it, considering you were famous by the time you were 8. So yeah.
So, I mean, music was always a part of our DNA.
So, when I say you were 8, I mean, I didn't know until I first interviewed you, your crazy history. I just always thought of you as the typical Broadway actress that hit it big in her 20s. I didn't know about it, and James doesn't know about it. So you got to talk to us about how you rose to fame as such a young girl before, by the way, the internet. I mean, you handwrote a letter. Okay, so let's hear it. I'm fascinated.
Well, first of all, my first gig was at 6 with Ethel Waters. She had a local show called Beulah, and there was a part for somebody to play her niece. And I wound up playing her niece. And her boyfriend on the show was Dooley Wilson, who is famous for Play It Again, Sam in Casablanca. Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. So that was my first gig. I did an appearance on that. And then Ethel fell in love with my mother and I. And so she would invite us to what she would call her soirees, and she'd get up and perform and sing. So here I am at 6 years old, being invited to hear this legend perform every so often. And then that led to, there was a lot of kid television shows, and I was on Arthur Godfrey, you name them. I would win these contests, and I would be on for a week. And so I was gigging. At 7, I was in a contest at Paul Whiteman TV Teen Club, and I won all these prizes. But I lost the big prize, which was a car, because they tied the clock on me. That was my first time really knowing what discrimination against Black people really were. And you could see him at the time. It had the old things that they measured, the meters, it would go this way. And there you saw this white man climbing under, tying the clock so that the other person who was white could win, because the sponsors had already given a car to a Black tap dancer and said enough was enough.
Wow.
And this is in Philadelphia, is where the show came from.
And when you say you could see it, is the video still online?
You could not. I could see it.
You personally could see it as it was happening.
As a child, you actually. My.
And I remember crying my eyes out because I had lost, and my mother said to me, "Your father and I can't drive anyway. What are we going to do with the car?"
New Yorkers. Wait, that's hilarious. That's a sweet ending.
And sweet of your parents to protect you the only way they could in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, because I was crying my eyes out because, I wanted to win. You got 5 weeks, you could win. And it was called Paul Whiteman's TV Teen Club.
Now, I watched these clips of you performing as a child. You have so much knowledge of performance. Is that just ingrained? I mean, you're so confident. You have this big voice. Like, where is that from? Was someone training you?
I was a ham. Really, I really was a ham. And the interesting thing is, when I started playing the Apollo, all these great people that I worked with, I was smart enough at that young age to stand in the wings and watch every single performance that they did to learn my craft. I mean, that's the best school I could ever have gone to at the Apollo Theater, and working, with Louis and Ella and Dinah Washington, and then working with the doo-wop groups that came to be famous, like the Drifters. I played the Apollo from 9 till 16 years old.
Wow.
I was there Christmas time and summertime.
What do you think? Can you give me maybe one thing you learned from Dinah and one thing you learned from Ella?
I learned how to cuss from Dinah. Dinah used to, in between shows, play cards with her musicians. And she wound up winning the salary back that she had given them. And the games were always outside my dressing room. And she'd say to my mother, "Close the door, Juanita. I don't want the baby to hear these cuss words."
Okay, that's an impressive skill. What did you learn from Ella?
From Louis, we got to be like family members with Louis, and he was amazing. And many years later, I was going like, "Oh, gee, it smells just like Louis," and then I found out that it was marijuana.
Oh.
I said, no wonder he was so fine and mellow,
You thought it was his cologne? Wonderful.
With Ella just, she embraced me like I was hers. And I worked with her in the summertime, and she used to buy me ice cream. She thought I was too skinny, and she used to feed me a lot. But I also learned the power of when you have it, how you can have an audience eating out of your hand. I always say, when I go see somebody, if I'm sitting watching you and I can go like this, you got me. You know, they knew how to make the audience feel like they were part of the show that they were doing. So I got my stuff from the best,
It's not just enough having the talent. You learn how to perform because you have the natural talent. I had this clip of you. I guess you're singing about, they're like, you're too small, these four guys.
You know what show that is? That's Sid Season Imaging Color.
Whoa.
At 10, I was on that show with them, and I would watch the rehearsals with all Mel Brooks, Rob Reiner, doing the sketches and teaching stuff to Sid Season Imaging Coca. Was I lucky with that?
Wow.
That's what that is all about. The Billy Williams Quartet.
Here you are. Look how confident you are. So fabulous.
Boy, I'm tall, tall is tall. I even feel lots older.
Why, you almost look like sweet 16.
But you look dancing lame. You're all so small.
And you're so tall. But I love you just the
same. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, there's also a video of me from the Paul Whiteman TV Teen Club where I'm singing a hip rockabye baby.
Who did those arrangements? Oh, I saw that. You're really young on that.
Yes. And what I love the best is that I pick up the baby, and of course it's a white baby doll. Oh God!
You've got a good attitude about the crazy shit you went through.
I mean, I went through it. You name it, I've been there.
How do you have such a good attitude?
Yeah,
really.
Well, I think because of my dad. You know, my dad always instilled in me. He said, "Don't put can't in your vocabulary. Yes, you can," and that's always been my thing. And even Diane Carroll. God bless her. She said to me one day, she said, I don't know. You walk through a door and you're like, hello world. Aren't you lucky that I'm in it? And that's always been my motto. Hello, here I am. What are we going to do now?
You don't let things get you down. It's so impressive. Tell James the story about how you wrote the Name That Tune letter, because I started explaining it and he was like, what? So talk about that.
Well, Name That Tune was a big show, especially for families to watch. And it usually came on like 7 o'clock in the evening. And you could write a letter into the show saying, but you had to give them like 7 song titles. And then they randomly picked you. So one night we're sitting there having some dinner. And then they said, and next week, Leslie Uggams will be joining John Mahoney. And of course, we all looked at each other with a lot of screaming and yelling. And in the neighborhood, neighbors, you know, everybody watched in the neighborhood. They were, oh my God, what's going on? So that's how I got on Name That Tune. Luckily for me, I knew a lot about music because of my Aunt Eloise. So I knew all types of music. And John, who was a kosher butcher, but he was Irish, was my partner. And so he answered the 7 songs correctly, and that's how I became his partner. And I was wanted to go to college eventually, and so $25,000 is what you won. And so I would get 12 thing. He's got the whole world in his hand, and the mail came in, and then each week I'd have to sing a song. And like the 3rd week, I sang the Lord's Prayer, and Mitch Miller saw me and signed me to Columbia Records. And my first album is called The Eyes of God. And it was kind of like I was doing Marian Anderson kind of thing for the record company in the beginning. But then when he got the television show, we started off as a special, and people loved the show so much we became a regular show. And he made me, asked me to be a regular
Sing along with Mitch.
and sing along with Mitch.
How old were you? 15?
Yeah, how old?
I was 17.
So where were you in
15,
school?
I was 15 on Name That Tune. And I was 17 when I joined Mitch Miller. I was going to school, professional children's school, because I was always working. So the principal of public school said to my mother, you got to check out this school for performers. And that's how I wound up. And I was they only had 5 Black kids in the school. And Josh White, who was a famous folk singer, his children went there. And there was another boy. And it changed my whole life.
How old were you when you started PCS?
8.
And wasn't it all the way downtown? How did you get there?
I would get on the subway. I was the subway queen at 8 years old. And I would off at Columbus Circle and trot to school. That was my life.
By yourself? You take the subway?
By myself.
You got a lot of sass. Okay, so Mitch Miller.
But hold on, but Name That Tune was filmed in New York in those days.
Yes, it was filmed in New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get on Sing Along with Mitch, and I read that it took him a long time to get the show in the air, right? He kept trying to get on the air.
Well, he kept trying to sell it, and nobody was interested in 25 old sing-along guys. And the reason he got it on is that NBC was doing a lot of specials with big stars, and the ratings weren't good. And finally, the head of the network said, "All right, let's put that show on, see what happens." And it exploded, and that's how we came on television and every week. But unbeknownst to me, there was a lot of things behind the scenes because the South would not take the show
Because you were on it.
Yes. So they came to Mitch and they said, we don't want her to be a regular. And Mitch said, no, she's part of the family. So then they came back to him and they said to him, well, could we isolate her? They wanted to do what they did to Lena, where they could take you out. And he said, no, we're not doing this. Then they came back the third time and they said, well, can the sing-along men, they stopped touching each other. And they were going through all of this, and the show became such a hit that the South put the show on the air, and some of my best fan mail came from the South, which was, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Leslie, did your parents know, who knew what was going on behind the scenes?
I never knew that. Mitch kept that from me. I didn't know that till years later. But I tell you what, we did get death threats. And for a while, we had the FBI watching us because we had gotten death threats. That I was aware of.
You knew about that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you think it means that you got the fan mail from the South? That there were people in charge that were racist, but there were people that weren't? Is that what it meant?
It's like the life we lead. There's always some upper echelon person making decisions without realizing, what do the people want?
Exactly.
People wanted to see that little chocolate girl on that show.
Wow. So you become this big hit at 17. Was your aim Broadway this whole time? Weren't you trying out for Broadway shows?
Well, let's go back a little bit. At 8 years old, I was taking acting classes.
Of course.
With Sal Menio. And with this wonderful teacher. And I also took tap lessons and vocal lessons. You did all that as a kid. And my parents were happy because it kept me out of the streets because we lived in a tough neighborhood. So I always was studying. I studied acting a lot all through my teens. And so it wasn't like I wasn't prepared. I was just waiting for an opportunity. And we did a program. There was a great school called Actors Center. And what happened was we would put on little shows, and we did a musical version of This Property is Condemned.
Yeah. Which,
I played the young girl. And unbeknownst to me, several people had come to see this little workshop. They were like, oh, maybe we can do something. Of course, nothing ever happened with the thing, but I had that background of learning, and we would get up and get critiqued by, our teachers and stuff like that. And that really was, I thought, oh, I could do acting, because I always acted in front of my mirror anyway. So this is a great opportunity. So I just kept studying. But I have to say, the person that changed my life around, and I was married by then, was Stella Adler. When I was doing Hallelujah Baby, my husband was a stockbroker. So he had to get up early in the morning, and I would then go to the theater, and he'd be sleeping, and, because of the hours and everything. And so he decided, well, I'm going to take some acting classes. And Stella fell in love with him. She loved him. She thought he was the next Marlon Brando.
Wow.
That's how good he was, but he didn't want to do it. But so that's how I met Stella, and we became friends. And then I started taking her class, and she said to me, you can do this. You tell stories when you sing. So she taught me, and changed my whole life when it came to acting.
So you haven't you're already in a Broadway show, and then you started taking acting lessons more seriously. Yeah. What do you think changed about your acting? How did she change your acting?
Well, learning, I didn't know all the technical stuff, like, where were you before you came into the room?
Right.
I didn't know that kind of I didn't know that, you should build a history of the character that you're doing. So she taught me all those things. But she also said, and she said that to every class member, darling, don't be boring. You do something with it. And, you do a scene in class, and then she'd say, now, this is how you do it. And then she'd get up there and just go, oh, my God, now we get it. I mean, it was that kind of situation. I was so lucky. I also went to the actor's studio for a minute before her. Did you not like that? Bobby Lewis was my teacher, and he was a very big time there at the actor's studio. I was too young. I didn't get it, it was overwhelming to me. He saw something in me at that time that I just didn't see when it came to learning acting and scripts and stuff like that.
I remember reading that I feel you were cast as the lead in The Boyfriend, which was sort of a big
Hello.
change. How did that happen?
Okay, so Berkeley had, I love it. Berkeley had a thing where they had television people come in and do these different musicals. And because of Sing Along with Mitch, they asked me to do this show. And I was like, really? We did The Boyfriend. I was the only Black person. The audience loved it. We were the big hit of the season. Mm. Then we heard that Lena was not going to do Hallelujah Baby, and that they decided to find an unknown to do the show. And when I came, I was doing it out, Berkeley, California. When I came back to New York, they wanted to audition me. But I had a gig in New York at a club down in Atlantic City called the Harlem Club. Mm. And I couldn't audition. So can you imagine? Condon and Green, Arthur Lawrence got in the car and came down to the Harlem Club. Whoa. A midnight show to see what I could do. And they liked what they saw. And then they were interested in me doing it. And then when I came back from doing the gig, they wanted me to read for the part. And at that time, hello, darling, the producer, I can't, David Merrick. Yes, David Merrick was a part of it. I did my audition, and when I finished, I looked up, and he was sound asleep.
He's a mess.
And I said, well, it doesn't look like I'm going to get this part. Anyway, I did get the part. But then he bowed out because he really wanted Lena to be involved. That's why he got involved. And they finally came up with other people who were interested in backing the show. But that was my audition for Hallelujah Baby. Can you imagine, in all those chocolate faces at the Harlem Club, here these three white people sitting in the audience to see what I could do?
Leslie, did you know that they were coming, or was it just a surprise? And like,
No, I knew that they were coming down because they really wanted to get going with this project. And I said, really? They're coming to the Harlem Club? And they did come. I thought, maybe not, but they did come.
were you nervous? Did you see them in the audience when you were performing?
You don't get nervous.
Look, my nerves make me, it gives me that oomph. I use it because I feel if you're not nervous, you must be dead. I mean, it's a big deal to walk out on stage and please people who paid their money to see you. So I just used that. And I remember I had this sexy gown on, and one of the songs I said, "The Shadow of Your Smile," which, songs like that. And they liked what they heard in my range and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I think white people could come down to a black club, honey. Why should I be nervous?
Got the sass. So much sass. Okay, by the way, don't forget, we are raising money tonight. As you see underneath it, I keep forgetting to remind you guys, NAACP, LDF.org.
/Stars in the House.
We have two things to ask. So when you were cast in The Boyfriend in a role originally played by Julie Andrews,
Yes.
so people weren't like, what? Because normally in those days, when Pearl Bailey took over Hello Dolly, the entire cast became black.
Yes.
So what was the reaction when you did it? It's so groundbreaking.
They just the audience would give us standing ovations.
How great.
It was like to them, oh, this is a wonderful show. Nobody, turned around and said, wait a minute, both her parents in this are white.
I love it.
Was that the first time in Broadway history that there was? I'm sorry.
It was in Berkeley.
But still, that there was like that sort of diverse cast. Well, now it'd be called diverse casting,
Right?
Yeah.
Colorblind casting.
Colorblind
That's what I meant.
Yeah, with Berkeley, you're at Berkeley, so.
Oh yeah,
There's that. Okay.
Yeah.
Element.
But I also say, I think it's hilarious that with your 1,000 years in show business, you were still considered an unknown.
Yeah, right.
How much do you have to do to be known?
I don't know.
Okay, so was that was your first Broadway show and you were the lead?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And let me tell you something funny. So, first day of rehearsal, you do the reading. I didn't know you do the reading. I had memorized it already. So all the people are sitting there with their scripts and they're talking and I'm talking back. And one of the actors looked at me and said, "You're going to be trouble." I didn't know. Nobody told me. It's like, 7:30 when it's supposed to be there for a half hour. I would stroll in close to 7:30 till finally my hairdresser said, "Miss Uggams, you should come in much earlier than that." I didn't know anything.
Wow.
Such a novice, and yet they entrusted you with this part, and you got.
And I was on stage all but 3 minutes in that show.
Whoa.
So first of all, talk about Arthur Lawrence, because he's
And he went on to win the Tony.
You won the
Award.
Tony for it too, right?
Yes.
I didn't even know about nominations and all that stuff. Somebody came up to me and said, "Congratulations, you've been nominated." I said, "For what?"
You're like a mixed bag of like total professionals, know everything, and I love it. So hold on. Arthur Lawrence was known as a cranky ass. What was he like during rehearsals?
Cranky. At one point, they had these umbrellas made. They took the song out of the show. It was called "When the Weather's Better," and it opened up. The curtain would open up with me standing there with the umbrella, but with my likeness on the umbrella. Rehearsal comes, and he said, "Get that out of here!" So not only did the umbrellas go, the song went.
Wow.
But, Arthur and I had a very interesting relationship because he always looked at me like, because I wasn't Lena. Lena was his best friend, and they had a falling out. That's what happened, why she didn't do the show.
Cranky ass.
Right. So he was cranky ass anyway because of all that. So he always kind of looked at me strange. Some years later, I bumped into him, and he said to me, "You're getting better." I said, "Well, thank you, Arthur." Then years later, when I did the Lena Horne thing called Stormy Weather, he came to see me, and I didn't know we were doing a little workshop at the Signature Theater, and he came and saw it. But I was in Thoroughly Modern Millie, and he came on a Tuesday, and I had to rush back to the theater. He
You
came.
do 2 shows.
I did what?
You were doing your own show and starring in Thoroughly Modern Millie?
I was doing Thoroughly Modern Millie, but we were doing this little workshop in between.
Oh, a workshop. Okay.
And so he came back, and he didn't see me. And Arthur wrote me the most wonderful letter. And I was like, is this the author I know? And then I spoke to him on the phone, and he was just raving, you're the one to do it. I'm so proud of you. And he said, you know what? He said, Bernadette, she's doing Gypsy. She's going to go out on the road with it. And I want you to take over when she leaves the show. I was like, what?
Wow.
Wow. So he softened 40 years later.
It took 40 years.
How wonderful. And then you got to play Mama Rose just a couple of summers ago.
Yes. Up at the University of Connecticut. And well, that's a part that's unbelievable. And I feel like I'm Mama Rose.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, there's so many things we want to talk about. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but hold on. So, since we're raising money for NAACP, have you ever had any experience with them? And what kind of social activism have you done? Have you been able to balance your career with social activism and also pursuing your career?
I became a lifelong member of the NAACP when I was 6. They made me a member when I was 6, and of course, it meant a lot to my family because in my neighborhood we were the have-nots in my neighborhood, and we saw a lot of things that happened. We see what's happening today, but it's been happening a long, long time. So I used to say the Black Shirley Temple in my neighborhood. I was supportive. They were supportive of me. They loved that I played the Apollo. And when I played the Apollo, Black people couldn't even shop at the department store called Bloomstein's on 125th Street. You couldn't go into Woolworths if you were Black.
In New York,
even on 125th Street?
In Harlem. There was a restaurant called Frank's that Black people couldn't go to. And my mother and I were the first to go into that restaurant and have a meal.
How is that allowed?
Because things were opening up, and my mother was always a lady, and we got invited, and hell yes, we were going to go. We didn't know what was on the menu, but we were going to go. And so my thing is, with my career, I've been able to break barriers for so many things because that didn't happen before. It didn't happen before. I mean, how many times did you have a Black leading lady on Broadway? That was big too. So through my career, I've been opened doors for a lot of things, and of course, television. I was the first Black performer on a regular television show on national television, because Nat King Cole, remember, he lost his show because he couldn't get any sponsors, and he had, Sammy Davis Jr., Harry Belafonte, Frank Sinatra, all these people came on the show, and the sponsors would not sponsor him. So it was a big deal when I became a regular on Sing Along with Mitch. That was really, really big deal.
Wow. And
what year was that, Leslie?
We went on the air in 1961 till 1964.
Wow.
Okay, well, James and I are writing each other because you have so much of a career to cover. We don't want to cover it quickly. So I think we're going to literally ask you to come back tomorrow. We're not joking. So he just wrote me. So we've got to cover something much more important today before your career.
Because it's June 1st?
Yeah, and that is...
Well, it's still June 1st.
Exactly.
So for everyone watching, just know that Leslie contacted us to talk about this. This is not us forcing her to talk about it.
Exactly.
So if no one knows the video, I'm going to show the video, then we'll deconstruct it, then I'm going to show it again. So This is a live performance of June is Busting Out All Over. Leslie, of course, sounds exactly the way she does today. It's always been the exact same voice since she was basically 6 years old. The voice is amazing. The lyrics aren't 100% up to snuff. And Let's first watch it, and then we'll deconstruct the story. But this is Leslie Uggams, June is busting all over. Enjoy. Here we go.
Well, in Oscar's case, as these songs will attest, it was better than good. It was extraordinary.
June is busting out all over the meadow and the hill. But the busting out of bushes and the rumbling river riches all the little wheels that wheel beside a mill. June is busting out all over the tents. The bridges and they'd hucking up the cheapest out of all the morning glories on the fair. Because it's June. June, just because it's June.
Miss
Now listen. No, I'm not Ella Fitzgerald in the scatting department.
You sort of are.
My best.
Okay, so for everyone that's thinking, oh, she's so unprepared, how did she not prepare her lyrics? Please tell everybody what actually happened during that live telecast.
Well, what happened the night before? It poured rain. I mean, it really came down. So the next day, everything was soggy. The grass was like mud. So what happened was that we had a cue card guy, because at the last minute they wanted me to sing this song, which was not in my repertoire. So I said, okay. They said, don't worry, to be on the cue cards and everything. But they weren't thinking that, wait a minute, you have me walking in the grass to get up on the stage. So I'm walking, and the cue card guy and the cameraman, and then the cue card guy slipped and fell. The cards went flying in every direction. He's face down in the muddy grass, and I have to keep going because it's live. So the shock of him on the ground with cue cards everywhere, my brain went, you gotta keep going. So I wasn't Ella when it came to scatting, but I did the best that I could. I was so happy, Seth, to get to that last note.
You just sold it. So you do it. You're just sort of making stuff up, and you're committing to it. But then when you ran off the stage, were you just all laughing with your friends about what happened?
No one said a word. Nothing. Not even my husband or my friends who were there. They didn't say anything. So I just kept going. It wasn't until years later, when that video started going around, a friend of mine said, honey, do you know you in every gay bar in America? I said, doing what? He said, singing June is busting out all over with translation. I said, what? I had no idea.
So you hadn't even thought about it in all those years. You thought no one noticed, and you just moved on.
Right, because, remember when I started, television was live. You didn't say cut and you could do it again. So what you saw is what you got. So I thought, okay, well, that's over. What the heck? I didn't realize there was some bad guy in the control room that was filming this for future reference.
Because everything disappeared. Okay, now you know that it's so famous. Like my friend Ruthie Henschel was in putting it together, the Sondheim show. And Sondheim lyrics are so difficult. Anytime someone messed up a Sondheim lyric, the person who messed up the Sondheim lyric the most got the June Award from the cast. Because I
didn't get an award.
You got credit. Here is the translation for people that haven't seen this. This has everything written out, what Leslie actually sang, and it doesn't quite make sense. Reading it along. Here we go.
June is busting out all over the meadow and the hill. But the busting out of bushes and the rumbling river riches all the little wheels that wheel beside a mill. June is busting out all over the tents. The bridges and they hucking up the cheapest out of all the morning glories on the fair. Because it's June. June, just because it's June.
Miss Miss Uggams, excuse me.
Oh my God, that was the craziest day of my life, but I kept going because I had more numbers to do.
You're so profound. I know you just on to the next. It never happened.
Right. In
Did
denial.
Did the cue card guy ever say anything to you?
He's still there.
This is a part 2. I don't know, in all of the episodes of Stars in the House, have we had a part 2?
No, we never had a part 2.
No. So Leslie Uggams, you're our first part 2.
Dr. Leslie.
I'm a first.
Hi, Dr. Leslie Uggams. How are you?
I'm good.
I like your sassy mood lighting.
Yes, I have a little thing there to give a little. It's evening.
Okay, so you already told us in advance, but I know you have your dinner half prepped. So let's talk about what you started making. Go. What is it?
I'm making shrimp with broccoli and jalapenos and garlic with an olive oil dressing.
Is there pasta involved?
Yes, linguine.
Wow. And it's half done.
Just a prepping.
So as soon as it's over.
Cook shrimp,
Oh.
So.
Okay, so basically, when the finale of this happens, you're out. You get it.
I'm back. I'm in the kitchen so that my husband is able to eat.
Love it.
I'm missing scratch.
So here's the deal. So we were talking yesterday. One of the things we talked about, which we didn't really finish, we were talking about Hallelujah Baby and how the role was originally for Lena Horne. She pieced out. She had a fight with Arthur Lawrence, typical. And then you were cast, and you'd never done ensemble on Broadway or anything. Your first role on Broadway was as a leading lady, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people I know that have been leading ladies or just leading people feel a lot of pressure that they have to lead the cast. But you were so young and you didn't have that experience. So how did you know what to do to kind of be able to lead a cast and be a spokesperson? And what were you doing?
Well, I believe this to this day. You have to set the tone. Exactly. And if somebody is a bitch, it affects everybody. Because I've worked with some of those people. It becomes like a poison that happens, And so my thing is, we're a team. We are a team, and we all got to be together. Otherwise, it makes the whole rhythm and everything not good. And I learned that when I was studying at the Actor Center, and we would do our little programs and things like that. If we were all not in sync and happy, it was not good. And I've been, in shows where it was like, oh God, do I have to go to the theater? Because it's not happy backstage. It's got to be.
Were you one of those people where you left your dressing room door open for people to come visit, or did you have a system for when you wanted to have visitors, when you're, the ensemble people and your co-stars?
Oh no, everybody came to my dressing room. I used to keep a big bowl of goodies right outside the door, healthy snacks. And, I had coffee and tea, and everybody would come in the dressing room. And I remember when I was doing Thoroughly Wild and Millie, I remember Sutton was saying to me, she said, "You always have a lot of company." I said, "Yeah, this is the hang, We have fun, especially in between shows, and people would order their food and everything, and we'd be sitting on the floor, chilling."
So even with Hallelujah Baby, because Arthur Lawrence was really the head of the show, and he was a cranky. So were you sort of like the person that kept the cast happy because he was on the cranky side?
Well, the interesting thing about this show, Hallelujah Baby, we didn't see him much. He wasn't happy with the script in many, many ways because it didn't go as far as he would have liked it to go in the writing. So he was always feeling that it wasn't quite his best. And of course, when he didn't get nominated for a Tony, then he really was pissed.
What else is new? But he wanted it to.
He had 8 nominations, and he wasn't one of them.
Oh.
yeah. But it was a lot of craziness. First of all, it's my first Broadway show, and I'm with Comden and Green, Julie Stein, and Arthur Lawrence, and Bert Chevallol. And Peter Gennaro originally was involved too.
Oh, wow.
But one day we're in rehearsal, and we had some fabulous dances, and Peter Gennaro, oh my God, this is so exciting. And one day, just before lunch, and the cast was called, and the next thing we know, they fired Peter Gennaro. I said, how could you fire Peter Gennaro? He was too slow.
Really?
Yeah, I till this day, I have never gotten over that they fired him because he was too slow. They wanted to see more routines and more numbers done, and he was still creating on a slower pace than they liked. And so they wound up getting Kevin Carlisle to come in and do the show. And of course, a lot of the dancers, they were there because Peter Gennaro is, to say that you dance for him. So we lost a lot of fabulous, special people because of that situation.
Did the actual cast members left when Peter Gennaro left?
A lot of the dancers, yeah. They had to audition. I mean, it was like at lunchtime, and who wanted to eat lunch after that? I was shocked, and I thought, okay, welcome to show business, Wow.
Did you think that you could get the axe?
I never thought about that. I was so thrilled to be doing this show, and plus my coach, my rehearsal pianist was Julie Stein, and he was wild and crazy because he would teach you something, and then he would be singing it.
Anyway,
it was just a crazy time. It was a great experience, but it was tough also because it was during the time of a lot of things were happening with the civil rights.
60s, yeah.
And I remember we opened at that time. You went out of town to do a show, and we went to Boston. Mm-hmm. The lovely theater. I can't remember
the
Colonial, right? Which was old when I went there. One of those kind of theaters, you were like, really? This is it? Okay. So what happened that we got a lot of flack from the Black community about the show. Because if you remember, she has a white boyfriend and a Black boyfriend that were vying for her attention in that show.
Wow.
And a lot of the Blacks in Boston, coming from Roxbury, they weren't happy. So we had to do a lot of talks with them, the after show talks, because in the beginning we were getting a lot of heat. The cast.
Did you get it in the form of reviews in Boston, or it was all audience?
It was all young people who, like now, were angry. They had a lot of problems in Roxbury in the Black community there. And they were going through stuff, and politically they didn't feel that our show was giving any heavy message. It was too much fluff for them, because really the integration part that comes in the show comes near the end, where you see one side is white dancers and the other side were the Black dancers, and slowly they came together. And that was the heaviest statement, really, of the show. And people felt that it should have said more. Should have said more.
Leslie, were you part of those conversations with the audience members? You said after the shows they would have conversations.
Listen, some of them weren't even in the audience. They would come wait at the stage door.
Wow.
And have conversations with and absolutely, I was part of that because, it was all about Georgina, basically, what the script was. But I was lucky too, because the woman that played my mother, Lillian Heyman, I had known since I was 6 years old. So I was fortunate to have her to keep me grounded in a way, because she was very protective of me. But the best thing about that show, we used to have some fabulous poker games.
When you're doing a show, at what point?
In between shows. Let me tell you, we had in my dressing room, and we have food set up and playing, some heavy poker. Do you remember Harry Rigby? At all? Harry Rigby, who helped produce the thing with Ann Miller and Mickey Rooney.
Sugar Baby.
Yeah. Anyway, he was kind of like the talk to person of the producers. So he would come around a lot, and he would come in my dressing room between shows, and he'd go, "Oh my God!" And we Bobby Hooks and Lillian Heyman and some of the understudies, and we playing poker up until almost a half hour.
What would you play for money?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God the police didn't come and raid my dressing room. Gambling. Yes. Yeah.
So one more question about Hallelujah Baby. Did you feel the pressure of being basically the second Black leading lady on Broadway? I guess Diane Carroll was the first. Did you feel you had this responsibility to represent the Black community? Like, what kind of pressure did you feel?
Yes, all the above, and somebody that I looked up to, and I remember when she was doing No Strings, fabulous Diane Carroll, and I had seen that show, and so when I got my opportunity, I wanted to set a certain standard, because in the past there's been some people that did shows, and it was like backstage was, it was like people were cussing each other out and didn't care. It wasn't in their dressing rooms. They were shouting it down the steps,
Wow.
Yeah, and, I always looked up to Diane because she was such a beautiful woman. And my mother and I, after the tap dancing lessons, used to go to have hot dogs at Chock full of nuts.
I remember that.
And they had the best pie. And so that was my treat after dance class. And we would sit there, and Chock full of nuts had this huge window that was right there on 7th Avenue. And I would see every now and then Diane Carroll walking to the theater, and I go, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful." Yeah, And so she kind of influenced me in wanting to do a show on Broadway. For my parents, that was it, that I had done a show on Broadway. Oh my God. It legitimized me especially to my father.
Wow, even after all that. Even after all that TV.
Was she able to come and see you in Hallelujah Baby?
Diane, no. Mm-mm.
That's
I don't remember her coming backstage, but we were friends, but she didn't come to see that show.
You have this song "Being Good," and what does it mean to you? Because I think the lyrics are so amazing. But how would you describe the lyrics to people?
For me, the song represented how, because of what's happening now, you have to be extra the best to make it. And that's what that song represents to me, is you can't be good. You got to be the best. There's a lot of pressure on you from naturally your fans who are African and American. And that statement there, Georgina was saying the same thing. I know I'm going to have to work harder than any white actors to make it happen. And I've always registered with that, because I was told, listen, girl, you're going to do this, you got to really go for it. Got to go for it.
And do you remember performing, because back in the day, Ed Sullivan would have these amazing 15-minute segments of musicals. Do you remember doing the Ed Sullivan show for Hallelujah Baby?
I did it for Hallelujah Baby. I did it also just to do the show. And he was funny because Sunday is when he came on, and Sunday afternoon, we'd all be gathered sitting in the theater seats to find out who was still going to be on the show.
Oh.
Yeah. So, then they had the jugglers and people with talking puppets and comedians. And I remember I became dear friends with Toady Fields. And
I love her.
yes. And
Gosh, funny.
every time comics were there, they didn't know whether they were going to be on, and a lot of them weren't. And
Wow.
son-in-law, who was one of the producers, would come down and say, "Okay, goodbye." Yeah, I mean Sunday afternoon, this would happen. So you could have been rehearsing a couple of days before, but that didn't mean that you were going to be on the show, because Mr. Sullivan, he had an office upstairs where he could see everything, and I guess he might have had some kind of window, but a lot of people were cut. They may have come back at a later time, but if he wasn't feeling you, goodbye.
So was it like one after another on Sunday afternoon? You would be doing your act, or it would just be over the last several days?
It would just, it would be your one song, or a comedian had a 5 or 10 minute routine that they got to do on the show, and if you better be funny, because if you weren't funny, maybe next Sunday I'll see you.
Did you ever get cut?
Never.
There you go.
But I did get to work with, I worked with the Rolling Stones on that show. That's how diverse the show was, because you have jugglers and comedians and big rock and roll people and theater people. And so I worked with the Rolling Stones on that show. And I'll never forget, the doorman said to me, "Miss Uggams, you have, your cousin is here." I said, "My cousin?" So I looked, my cousin Alida. And it was mobbed because of the Rolling Stones. Everybody was, kids backstage and everything. I said, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" And she said, "I'm here to see the Rolling Stones."
Not interested.
I said, "How rude." "Yeah, I thought you came to see me." She said, "No, I'm here to see the Rolling Stones." I said, "See, there's a lot of people that don't all appreciate you."
Even relatives. Well, I have a clip of you on Ed Sullivan. First of all, I love your look. It's very Barbra Streisand. The hair, very like the 60s Barbara look. And you sound amazing. Here you are. This is Hallelujah, Baby. Let's watch this.
Am I strong enough? Is there time? Have I long enough? Gotta fly, and if I fall, that's the way it's gotta be. There's no other way for me. Being good just won't be good enough. I'll be the best on the beat at all.
Yes.
I love that song. And you talk about the fact that it was Barbra Streisand. That was me. And Barbara and I did a couple of concerts together.
Wow.
And so I knew Barbara. But that was me. I just was born for theater. I just love theater, and to have this song to sing was quite something to bring the curtain down on the first act.
Yeah.
It was really something spectacular.
And I don't know if you know, but Vanessa Williams used that song to get into Miss America. That was her song.
Really? Wow, that's wonderful to hear. It's such a great song, and I know My Own Morning gets, people ask about My Own Morning, but then when they do Being Good as well, they do, oh my God. And I've had a lot of young kids come up to me and said, we put that in our repertoire. We love that song and it means so much to us. So it's a score that it still works.
Oh, yeah.
The music really still works. It's, why not? It's Julie Stein and Comden and Green.
Yeah, I mean, my God, people of course know that their boat bells are ringing. Now, by the way, I'm getting these donations, but I'm gonna wait to send them to you. You know that
we'll tell people again.
So Jan is wondering if you ever sell. I can email these to you, Leslie, to read. Do you have your phone with you?
What do you want to do it on my iPad or?
I'm gonna email. Tell me if you get these. But I just want people to know, Leslie.
Because I shut the phone off.
Oh wow, you're so much.
She's very professional, Seth.
Yes,
lifelong member.
On the bed. Okay.
You're a lifelong member of the NAACP, right, Leslie?
Since I was 6, they made me a lifelong member.
I love it. Okay, so I see if you get this email. Something I want to say. Do you remember ever performing with Dean Martin? Where did you perform with him?
Oh, he had a television show. I used to do his show all the time. He loved me. Yeah, he did love me. What a wonderful man. The whole thing that he was a drunk was part of the mystique that he created. He was very quiet, private kind of man, really. And of course, when his son Dino died, he was never the same again. But I loved working with him. He was great. And I think I did about 4 or 5 of those shows. Yeah.
Well, I have a great clip of the two of you. Let's watch how fabulous this is. Here we go.
You know what's interesting about that? Beside the fact that Dean Martin, he was so cute. Wait a minute, I think maybe I got your thing here. It was Lena Horne and Perry Como, when Perry Como had his show, and he and Lena touched and created such a scandalous thing because Perry Como had touched Lena Horne while they were singing a duet on the show. And the sponsors were like, oh my God, oh my God, my God. And here I am years later with Dean Martin, and we're all over each other.
It's interesting though. It's like, I mean, what are your thoughts about what's happening right now and people going out and protesting and also risking the COVID? I mean, do you have any advice because you lived through the 60s, man, you lived through it all. What should people be doing to make a protest but also stay safe?
Well, I saw an interesting interview today with a couple who protesting, a white couple, and the commentator said to them, with all these crowds, aren't you worried, what's going on with this pandemic? And they said, well, we're wearing our masks and we're willing to risk our health to march. And I was like, wow. And that really says something. And all I can say is try to be as safe as you can. But, I grew up in Washington Heights. In fact, I watched Shelley talking last night. West Side Story, I was taken to see that musical by our school teacher at school. She took 10 of us to see it. And I saw Cheetah Rivera and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I was living that. In my neighborhood, we had Puerto Rican gangs, black gangs, white gangs. And one night, I was telling my daughter this today, one night, summertime, and we're leaning against the car. All of a sudden, this whole crowd of people came up, guys coming up the street. And one of the guys I knew when I went to public school, He was in my first, second grade, Jose, and we were good friends. And he was part of them. And I said, Jose, what's going on? He said, hi, Leslie. And he just kept walking. And what they were doing, they were going to have a gang fight up at High Bridge. White gang, Puerto Rican gang. So when I saw West Side Story, I thought, oh my God, were they in my neighborhood when, did they to see this? And so the thing about West Side Story, it told the story of people who wanted to be in America and some didn't. And people who were privileged to be in America didn't want to treat others, they called them, who wanted to have the opportunity to be able to come to a country where we had a democracy. So I understand with these people, streets, it just boiling over. You can take so much. And when you watch somebody that's being murdered right in front of you, I mean, it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
And so this is going to happen. The thing about it, though, it's the young people out there of all races marching with us as well. And if we cannot, after everything dies down, not go back to how it used to be, but if we start talking to each other. And I was forced to talk to others when I was going to PCS. I lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood. White people were there, but that was it. And I got to meet other people and become friends with them. I never forget one of my dear friends, Lola Shumlin. Her father was a big director on Broadway. And she invited me to her house. And I remember going to her house. Now, I live on the 3rd floor on 164th Street, okay? Mm-hmm. And here I go to her house and has a man that opened the door, a doorman, and then an elevator that was like, oh my God, with, wood paneling, and go up to his apartment and the door opens and we're in her living room already. And I said to myself, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want. Because living in the conditions that I was living in, and it was the best that my parents could do, it was hard. It was hard. I was stunned when I went to my friend's house. She didn't have any cockroaches. I mean, I thought cockroaches was in everybody's house, to be quite honest. So, when you're forced to, you live on top of each other. And then, of course, we have this pandemic and we can't go out. And then people lost their jobs. And then that check that you said was coming still hasn't come yet. What do you expect? So then you see George being murdered on television. That was it. And it's going to take a while for people to calm down because they've got to finish this process. Can't just be that one policeman. It's got to be the other policeman. That's how it goes.
Leslie, it's interesting because as a girl, you kind of had your foot in two different worlds. The one you grew up in Washington Heights, and then because how old were you when you started going to the school for what's the name for the performing
PCS,
arts?
Performing
PCS.
I was 8.
So it was two different worlds beginning at age 8, basically.
Let me tell you, when I got off my street on 164th Street, I was a completely different person. Because now I'm in my neighborhood and this is how we are and how we act and everything. I'll tell you a funny story. One of my friends was named Hella. She was Mary Martin's daughter.
Oh, wow.
And she was going to PCS because, Mary Martin was doing at the time Peter Pan. Okay. So all the kids that were in the show were at the school. And so I invited her to my house and we became very close. And so she had a woman who was like a governess with her. And so we brought her up to 164th Street around here to my house. We had a great time. And then we came out of downstairs. It was a beautiful day. And my whole neighborhood was gathered around the stoop because this white girl, not only was she a white girl, but she was dressed, uniformly and everything. And she was, Hella was stunning. And so everybody was like, wow. And so I had a park that was across the street, and we walked to the park, and we had a great day. The governess was hanging out with my mother going upstairs, and welcome to my home. This is my neighborhood and everything. And she had a great time, but she got to see how I lived, and that's why people don't understand that we have families. I grew up in a neighborhood that had 10 children, 13 children, and they all live together. And when you have no money and you lose your job, what do you expect? I mean, you explode. There's a rage there, and you can't explain it. And your helpers, there's nothing you can do about it.
Just on a side note, I just saw a comment come up. We were talking yesterday about you playing the lead in The Boyfriend and how normally a white woman played it and then you played it.
Yeah.
Broadway, the original lead of Sheila was white. And as far as I know, this is the first time it ever happened. The first replacement of a white woman with a black woman was in Hair, and it was Melba Moore. And look who is watching the show right now with us, Melba Moore. Hello.
Oh, I love her. That's my girl.
Oh my gosh, that's history. My God, having the both of you here is thrilling.
Yes.
Hi, Melba. You're going to be on the show next.
Melba, you got to come on the show.
That's right.
Yes, I'm recommending it, Melba. You'll have such a great time.
Oh my God, we'd love it. Now, by the way, yesterday we talked about Sing Along with Mitch, but I didn't have any footage of it. How old were you when you did that again? 17?
17.
Well, look at the confidence.
In Brooklyn.
What'd you say?
We shot it in Brooklyn.
You were all over the city, Washington Heights, Midtown, Brooklyn.
Well, it's interesting because when we were talking to Leslie yesterday, I don't know if you saw some of the comments, but they were saying for Black families that they otherwise did not like. They only watched it because of Leslie. Otherwise, they didn't really like.
They didn't like the show,
but they liked you, and that was why they watched.
Yes. Well, the music was kind of square. It was Follow the Bouncing Ball.
Okay.
And so it was very vanilla, and I was a chocolate flavor that came in there and gave it some oomph.
Here, watch this sassafras. I think this is Sing Along with Mitch. I hope it is. Here we go.
She got a list of passengers that's pretty big, and they all want lips to Brown's Hotel, 'cause lots of them been traveling for quite a spell, all the way from Philadelphia, on the actress in Topeka and the Santa Fe. On the actress in Topeka and the Santa Fe.
Now, remember yesterday I was telling you how they were trying to get me off to Sing Along with Mitch?
Yeah.
And they said at one time, well, can the Sing Along men not touch her? And so I'm watching that number. They must have drove them crazy.
You have such a good attitude. I have another thing I have to ask you. So you're in the 60s, which it feels so, what's happening now feels so much like that. Did you know any great civil rights leaders? Did you ever get to connect with any of them back in the 60s? Or were you too busy?
Well, no, I had met Martin Luther King.
Oh my God.
And the first person that I voted for was JFK. 18, I was so excited I was going to be voting, and he was young, and that whole thing. And I wound up doing quite a few things at the White House. And so I met Harry Belafonte, who, is still an activist. And Josephine Premise, and they kind of took Graham and I under their wing.
That's your husband, right?
Yes, my Australian husband, 54 years. So we got a lot of conversations, because my husband came from a whole different world, and I was representing, certain things. and they would have these wonderful soirees where they had different people that would come who were involved in civil rights, and you get to meet them. Sidney Poitier was, also a part of that. And so, because I was at that time, I was doing, the show, and so many things were happening, and I was trying to find out how to be active and what you represent and those kind of things, because I represented, according to America at that particular time, being on Single Out Mitch, I had to watch my P's and Q's, because if you did anything, then the entire race was ruined, which is amazing. Now you can do anything. Nobody cares. But if you belch back then, it was like, oh my God, she represents, see, they all belch, that kind of thing. So I was living, and I understand how a lot of these young artists, you have a lot of angst because you're trying to do what you love to do, but at the same time, you represent a lot of people. And so it was hard, it was hard. It was 17. It was hard.
So much pressure.
Yeah.
We're talking about civil rights, but of course, probably the greatest civil rights TV piece was the brilliant miniseries Roots, which you were so fantastic in. And I guess my question is, first of all, how did you get the role of Kizzy? Was it, you were so famous at that point, did they just write it for you? Were you offered it? How'd you get it?
I have to tell you a story.
Good.
You got time?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
I saw a television show that Dinah Shore had in the afternoon, and she had Richie Pryor, and he said he brought on a friend of his who had written a book, and it was called Roots, and he was going to go to Africa. He came, and so he said after that they were going to make a series on NBC about this book. And I was thinking, oh my God, first of all, my name is Uggams. Where did that come from? And I'd love to be a part of that situation. Later on, when my husband came home, I told him about, hey, I saw this, blah, 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 blah. And so I went on the road to play Denver. My opening act was David Letterman.
Fabulous. Wow.
And I was there for 2 weeks. And when I came back, I had an audition for Roots. And so I went in, and that's the first time I ever did this, James and Seth, in my life. I went in looking African looking. I had the dashikis were big then. So I wore that dashiki, big earrings and things like that. And I went and I auditioned for the casting director and one of the regular directors. And they gave me a script and they said, we want you to come back tomorrow and pick the part you want to play. They gave me 3 scripts. And I thought, oh, these people don't know what they're doing. I never heard of this. I went home and I'm not making this up. I went home and I read the scripts, and then Kizzy was the last one I read. And I went, I want to play this part. And so the next day I went back again and I read for them, and they were kind of like looking. And then there was a lot of whispering going on and stuff there. And I was like, okay. So I found out eventually that I had gotten the part. But the only thing they were worried about that Ben and I wouldn't look like his mother. So they wanted to do a screen test for when she gets older. And so I went in at 9:00 in the morning and had my makeup done. And from 9 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 white men with a hairdryer and some glue were trying to put wrinkles on me so I could look like I was 80. Now I get dressed in the costume. And they take me to the set, and Stan Margulies, he looked at me, and I said, oh, I'm not getting this one. I look like a mummy. A mummy. And I was like devastated. And I was in tears driving back to the house, and I said to Graham, I'm not going to get this part because the makeup people didn't know what they were doing, and they were squeezing my skin with glue and all like that. He said, calm down. I'm going to find out who did Sicily for Jane Pittman.
Oh, because she aged like 100 years.
Yes. So he found out who it was. We called him Stan Winston, the great Stan Winston. And Graham said what needed to be done. And he said, I haven't heard about this project. And he said, well, come on over. I swear to God, the man didn't know us from Adam. We go to his house. We talked about it. And he said, okay, I'll do your screen test again, because they were going to give me another screen test, another chance. And he did the makeup. And when I walked on the set, they went, you got the part. And he wound up doing the makeup the rest of the part.
Wow.
Oh, how wonderful. By the way, this is you as young Kizzy, as we can see, by the way, looking 15 years old.
Exactly.
And then here's old Kizzy.
Okay, I have this picture. The photographer gave me this picture, and Stan Winston said, this is how you're going to look when you get older.
Oh, by the way, you don't. You actually look 30 years older in this photo.
That's right.
I said, huh.
You always say, huh?
And it's in the office. So taking no chances.
You got keep it lifted, lady. Keep it lifted. Okay, please tell everybody, because I remember you telling me about why Roots wasn't done every week like it was supposed to be done. It was supposed to be done like every Monday night, right? For like a 5-week period or something.
Well, what happened was that when they finally put it together and they took it to the head of ABC, he looked at it and he said, this is awful. He said, who wants to see a whole bunch of Black people? So he said, I'll put it on every night so we can get rid of it.
Wow.
And they did.
So he did it every single night so it would blow off. Oh my God.
The first night, the people went crazy. And each night it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But he took the credit for it when he wanted to get rid of it. He said, oh yeah, this is a new thing. We're calling it the mini-series.
The bad acting. I love it.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this.
What did Anne Margaret tell you? Didn't she say something about her act had to be?
Oh, I was at Las Vegas rehearsing Guys and Dolls at one of the hotels, and when Roots went on the first night, and I wasn't in it the first night and that stuff and everything, and then the next night, I get a phone call. Anne Margaret was playing at the Hilton, and I knew Anne, and so she said, Leslie, she said we had to change the hours of the show. I said, what? She said, because nobody's in the casino. Nobody wants to come here. They're all watching Roots. And I thought, really? And so the shows would change. The casino, a few stragglers would be there, but they were all watching Roots, and you could not get room service. Wow. If you didn't order it by a certain time, you were not getting room service because people were in the rooms. Then people were putting up signs in their restaurants and their bars saying, we got a big screen, you can watch Roots. And the great thing that happened was on the East Coast here, but I was living in California then, there was a blizzard, which helped keep the people in their house.
Uh-huh.
And then they put this on, and then people were like, oh my God, this is great. I mean, the gods were with us.
Wow.
It's so great. I have this one scene. Oh, we want to say.
We just want to add. I mean, well, you can show the scene, but let me know. What was the reaction? Because there's no way you could have expected that. No one could have. But I mean, what was some of the feedback that you got from other people in the Black community?
Yeah,
they were so excited to have a story that's the truth about how Black people got here in the first place. Because they don't tell much in the history books that we have here to educate people. And this, you saw how people lived in Africa. They were queens, they were kings, they had a life. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're abducted and put on a ship where half of the people died. And so this really meant a lot. And I was flown to London and I got a special award, and it's with people who were from Africa who were living in London. And I was so surprised when they told me, they said, oh, Roots, at last people could see what we come from. And I thought, I wonder that Roots just touched even them that much.
What a legacy. I just got an email from Terry Wall. I was a casting director on Roots and will never forget seeing the dailies of you crossing out Toby on the gravestone and writing Kunta Kinte. Amazing work.
Yes. It was so beautifully written. It was the first time that you'd be on the set, and if something wasn't right, maybe dialogue-wise or something, they take the pages and go back and write something better. I had never seen that ever before. Or how many wonderful Black actors and actresses were doing this show and being showcased, that a lot of people didn't realize how fabulous we are out there. People that you might not know their names. And so it was a great opportunity. And of course we had Alex. Everybody loved Alex.
I was going to ask you about him. Was he on the set every day?
He practically. He was such an interesting man and such a calming influence. There was something about being on the set. I came in like 5 weeks after they had been shooting the stuff on an island. And everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. And it was an atmosphere that was loving the whole time. And we knew we had something special, but we had no idea it was going to be like that. But it was that kind of situation. And he was a dear man. Dear man.
It's a brilliant book, too. Here's a scene where you show that Sandy Duncan, your best friend, but not really, has taught you how to read and write. And your mother basically says, if you learn how to read and write, they're going to sell you. And she says you're not allowed to. It's so devastating because it shows how your education was held back. Oh, it's just devastating, but it's brilliant. Watch.
You got to get up early before daylight, kids. You see to it Missy Ann's old room be ready for her.
Yes, Mama.
And you see to it that them andirons be polished up and shiny and... What's that?
These letters spell out my name. Missy Ann showed me when we used to play school. And she showed me about reading and writing. That's a Kizzy. K-I-Z-Z-Y. Oh!
Don't you never do nothing like that again.
Oh.
Quite a scene. The fact that you had to be stupid. Can't be allowed to learn how to read and write.
Man,
yeah.
We did we find out that we can watch it again? Did you research that?
Yeah, you can watch, because we're gonna watch it again. You can. Well, at least I know on Amazon Prime you can.
Yeah. It's something to see, and it still holds up. It still holds up. It was, I think, the hardest scene though for Sandy was when they take me away in that wagon.
I was a little kid, and I still remember. Oh my God.
And after we finished shooting that scene, first of all, I almost passed out because I was so emotional. Sandy said to me, and we had been friends before, she said, Leslie, if I had known really what I was playing, she said, I don't think I would have ever taken this part.
Wow.
Because people hated her. Just hated us in that moment, you know? And it helped that I have been friends with Sandy too.
Yes. The connection. Someone just commented, Roots taught me more about slavery and the heart and soul and spirit of the Black culture than I ever learned in high school. What a legacy, man.
Yes, because we're not in the history books here. We're like a footnote in history books, and which is a shame. Dion and I had talked about that for years, where the educational system is still using those books from Texas, and they don't enough people who are of color who have contributed incredible things in these books. So therefore, white students don't know anything about us, really.
Right.
Thank God for something like Roots. You know, on my Facebook today, you get these sort of anniversaries, and it said 1 year ago today, you were giving an award to one of my Facebook friends, Glenn Scarpelli. Do you know Glenn Scarpelli? I guess you gave him an award.
My buddy.
How do you know him? From one day at a time?
No, well, I knew, of him, but Peter Marshall and I had a television show in the afternoon called Fantasy. And we used to give houses, connect families that hadn't seen each other, games where you could go in and with money flying and you catch so much money. I mean, we did everything, but we also had the Fantasy Spotlight where we also showcased people who had dreams of what they wanted to do. We would give them their fantasy. And Glenn Scarpelli was one of the young Turks, because from One Day at a Time, that would be on the show and handle the young stuff. And we got to be very, very good friends. I was just talking to him for my birthday. We talk all the time.
I love it, but he's in Arizona, so you don't ever get to really see him that often, right?
Yes, we see each other. He comes up here, and in fact, I was supposed to do something. They were going to have a Roots Festival, but I got a movie, which and we couldn't change the date, and there was no way I could get from Sedona to where we were shooting in Oklahoma City.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, since you didn't get to see him then, maybe you want to see him now. Hi, Glenn.
Look at you are too much.
Seth and James reached out to me today, Leslie, and they said, come on and surprise Leslie. I'm like, of course I will. You know, I've worked with so many people in my life, and one of the things that made Leslie so special to so many, and everyone that works with her says this, is that what I learned was how to have a role model that can be famous and kind all at the same time. Leslie truly knew everyone, every person, the person that brings you the coffee, like my name and how's your mother, and then did your grandmother go to the show, and like on and on and on and on and on. So, you know, this is a woman who's so down to earth and so kind. It was such an incredible role model for me, because I've also, you know, worked with some divas. When you're in show business, you come across a few. And Leslie certainly is not. And that's why we just resonated. We've been lifelong friends.
Yeah.
I met her when I was 15, and here we are. I still, you know.
Yeah.
So much.
We're still hanging.
I found this great clip of you. You got to see. If you can't see it now, I got to see it later. But it's you and Julie. By the way, you're so perfectly matched. Like you have like the same body. Your dancing is so similar, and you like kind of. It's interesting. It's like her voice changes with you. Like she's so belty, which she never is. But the two of you are belting.
It was true. It was true. She even commented on that herself. She says, "Leslie, you bring out the best in me."
Yeah, because she doesn't sound like herself. So we'll close with this clip, and then we will have another third.
And read the donations afterward.
Yeah, we'll read donations afterwards.
Okay.
So here's Julie and you sounding fabulous.
Say no to the other side. A good man is so hard to
That is the longest medley in history.
Oh my God, Leslie! I kept looking at it, going like, surely it's not 9 minutes. And I kept going, is this true? How did you do it in one take?
I don't know how we did it in one take, because it was so many songs in that, and you know, you have to be precise in everything that you're doing. And I don't know how we did it, but we did it.
All right, we'll see everyone. Thank you.
I'll play you out with the
Thank
Julie.
you. Be safe.
Yes, everybody. What were they doing? They were doing all that jazz at the end, right?